Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Soul View. And I'm Cindy Kabika, and co-hosts, of course, are Lorelei Robbins and also Shivani Ganel and a little kitty cat I just saw.
He's now safely on his perch, I think.
Okay. All right. I may have a cat or two come through because they have been very clingy lately, and I'm not sure why that is, but the animals just seem to do that every now and then, and mine are. So today, I'm so excited about this topic because what is hot in the news right now, which is what we cover on this show, whatever's hot in the news, and what's hot in the news right now is former FBI Director James Comey's new book. He has a book called A Higher Loyalty, Trust, Lies, and Leadership. And I would love to know, everybody, have you read this book? Because I think it's fabulous. And we're going to talk more about what I actually liked about the book in just a moment. But tell me if you actually have read it. Go ahead and put your comments in the chat box. If you are on Facebook Live, just down below us, or whatever your technology is, you'll be able to put it below. If you are listening via YouTube after the fact, go ahead and put your comments there because I love to go and read the comments. So please put your comments in. And if you are on our YouTube channel, please hit that high five button saying that you love what we are doing so that we'll keep on doing it, and also subscribe to our channel. And what else are we going to be doing on the show today? Well, we're going to have our Q&Q, our questions and quotes with Shivani. And then, of course, we always start with our astrological weather. Bless you. And a blessing. And a blessing. I love it. So, Lorelei, what is going on with our astrological weather right now?
Well, it's interesting what you were saying before, Shivani, about speaking up, that you were finding, because as we're doing the show right now, we're actually still in the full moon, actually until tomorrow night. So everything is always expanded at a full moon. What's interesting is that the planet of communication, Mercury, which is in Aries, so if there were ever a time to speak who you are and what's important to you, and it might seem selfish and it might be very courageous, but it's really an opportunity, again, to thine own self be true. Well, March 22nd, Mercury retrograded in Aries until April 15th. And now in the next few days, Mercury will be where it was on March 22nd. So what does that mean? What that means is if you might have put something on a burner, to kind of be there for a bit because you were trying to get clear. What do I really want to say here? Like, what's really important to me? I don't want to mow this person down, but I got to be true to myself. And I'm not. So you folks may have been in that question for the last couple of weeks. Like, there's stuff I need to say. There's stuff I need to communicate. It's going to take courage. It's going to take confidence. Well, if you've been in that place, know that in the next couple of days, you very likely can receive a lot of clarity, like, okay, now I know what I want to say to so-and-so, or now I know what I need to say in this email, or what I want to communicate, whether it's to self or others. So I think that's really important because Aries is the energy of, again, the quote, you can't be false to anyone else if you're true to yourself. So I know for myself and in clients that I have, folks have been wrestling with, this is what I really want to say. This is what I want to claim. And so now it could feel much clearer, like, wow, why have I been chewing on it for 2 or 3 weeks? Now I know exactly, this is what I need to say. I need to stand in my truth. I need to be true to myself. And then everything will unfold from there. And what sparked that for me to share, Shivani, is what you said earlier about, the fact that you found yourself speaking up, so to speak. So depending on someone's nature, if someone's more timid, they could wonder why now they're speaking up and speaking out. So it's like everything else, to me, all things work together for good, and we're always at choice.
And I've got a question too for you, Lorelei, which is, I'm not going to talk about it on the show today, but I'll talk about it in the future. I just had something that I didn't know was going on. It was like the full moon shined a light on what's going on in my life, something I didn't know was a problem was exposed to the light. Is that kind of thing usual for a full moon?
Yes, and especially a Scorpio full moon, because a Scorpio full moon is seeing what's beneath the surface, what's not necessarily being shown. Well, and Shivani can speak to it. She has a Scorpio moon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, so in terms of, popping the pimple or getting to the bottom of something, or feeling really empowered in a situation, or disempowered, but certainly to shine a light on something that may not have had light shown on it in a long time. And
that's exactly it. For me, this light beneath, talk about beneath the surface.
The surface, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. Way beneath the surface. But again, that's a topic for another day. But it's interesting. It happened now. And when you said that, Shivani, I got chills all over, truth bumps.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. Now I'd like to go to the quotes. We had some great quotes.
Okay, let me
Thank
read
everyone. Please put your quotes in, whatever you're feeling, anything that you want to respond to that we say. We love hearing from you, and we love sharing them with everybody. So, Shivani?
Yep, sure. Okay, I was just looking for the name, but I don't think I have a name with the first one. It's such an excitement to listen to your talk, ladies. Thank you. Dear Shivani, thank you for your story. It's exactly what I feel about the earth. Digging, sowing, watering and growing some veggies and strawberries in my son's place gives me so much pleasure. I was thinking it's weird for Leo, but Lola and Cindy explains everything so well. Thanks again. Glued to my computer.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And then we have Karen. She says, love the conversation. I love Mother Earth. Thank you for the recommendations on getting rid of bugs, Cindy. That is such an issue for me since I have so many allergies to bug bites. Love you all. And then we have Jeff. Thank you. I'm going to do a herb garden. Yay.
Good.
Yeah, I live in such a tiny apartment with such a tiny deck that I didn't think I could grow anything. Found a pot with many places on the side. Good on you, Jeff, to put in plants. Me, a gardener, ha!
Well, Jeff's probably in some sort of cycle, or some sort of nurturing part of the personality is coming out in the desire to garden. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
great. And these are all from our show, of course, on Earth Day, where we were talking about Mother Earth. And I think the pot that he's talking about, I was trying to.
No, it's like a strawberry pot. I can see it. It has different openings.
Yeah, one of those that have these little.
Yeah.
They look like little decks on the side where you can plant them. That's what I'm envisioning. I don't know. Jeff, if you're listening or if you listen later, please let us know because I would love it. And if you've got pictures, share your pictures. We'd love to see
that's
on our Facebook page.
You're welcome, Jeff, once your herbs grow, to send us a picture.
Yeah, we would love to see them.
Yeah.
And is that it?
Yep.
Okay, and Lorelei, you have a great question. I loved this when I heard it because this is something, that I've thought about many times for all of the different signs. But the question that we got is, can you talk about, Lorelei, can you talk about Taurus in general? My birthday is May 9th. By the way, that's my grandson's birthday also. And happy birthday to all the Tauruses out there. Mm-hmm. And my sister's is April 28th. It's the same sign, but we couldn't be more different. Why is that?
Yeah, and there's all kinds of reasons for that, perhaps, but the first one is that while you're both Taurus, and Taurus is the energy of it's a fixed earth sign. So Taurus is about beauty. Taurus is about the creature comforts, the material that feels good on the skin, loving to eat, sleeping. It's all of it's, it's luxuriating in a hammock. You know, it's relaxing. Relaxing and smelling the roses is my favorite line for Taurus. Now, and I'll say this much more simply than I said it to Cindy and Shivani earlier. The fact that you're May 9th and your sister is April 28th, while you're both Taurus, you're a Taurus and she's a Virgo Taurus. And we can talk more about that offline if you're interested. It's an overlay because one of you's born in the first 10 days of the sign and you are born in the second 10 days of the sign. So you have a Virgo overlay and your sister could be more stubborn perhaps than you know, more fixed in her way. I mean, think about it. Taurus. Virgo Taurus would say, I'm a Taurus, I want to relax, but I still want to be in service. You know, I still need to be serving in some way, or I still need to be, you know, detailed or again, what, you know, Virgo's very much about being of service. So, and the other thing is, which of course is even more important, is that you both have different characters. You're both Taurus, but you have other parts of your personality. So I would bet, though, which is what I said to the gals earlier, there would be a place for you and your sister to connect where it's about Taurus, where it's about relaxing, where it's about feeling comfortable. Because what Taurus comes in to learn, anybody with any Taurus energy, is to be comfortable in their own skin. And so that's how you and your sister could really support each other. There's no question you have other characters. And then as I said, she's a Taurus, you're a Virgo Taurus. And that's another conversation, but that's very interesting. And I'm glad you asked that question. Thank you so much.
Great question. And the fact that she spoke out speaks to the fact that she's a Virgo Taurus. And the other one might be a little more stubborn and not willing to ask the question, right?
Exactly. She wanted the information because Virgo it's the adaptable earth sign, and it's about practical communication. Virgo as well. So yeah, reaching out for the, like, gee, what's the detail here that makes me one way and she another way?
Oh yeah, that's very Virgo too, isn't it? That detail.
It totally is.
I love it. I so love that. That's great. Well, I want to move on to our topic here today. And I love this because, you know, this book was really fascinating to me. I didn't know how I didn't know I was going to enjoy it, first of all, because I'm writing a book right now, as y'all know. And in this book, I've had to do a lot of research and read a lot of books that are most of them by newscasters, and they're very dry, like a newscast, you know. And this one was actually extremely well written. And in getting to know James Comey through this book, his personality really shines through, and his extraordinary leadership really shines through. And what's really interesting to me, and I want to learn, you know, astrologically a little more about him in just a moment. But what really came through for me is when I keep seeing all of the news about this book, all you ever hear is the part where he's talking about Trump. Mm-hmm. That's such a small part of this book. It is a very small part of the book. He starts off with the why, and I'll just tell everybody what happened in the very beginning. He was in his house with his brother, and they were held at gunpoint. And this ultimately led to him becoming, joining law enforcement. And talk about a divine loyal path, because when I read it, I thought this was his path to take this kind of turn, because he wanted to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. And he turned in a different direction because of what happened. Mm. When we talk about a higher loyalty, and we'll talk more about this in a second, but a higher loyalty is understanding your soul's path and being loyal to that. Mm-hmm. And the very first chapter in the book speaks to that. And I thought that was pretty extraordinary.
Mm. Speaks to being loyal to the truth. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Loyal to the truth of who you are in your
Yeah.
soul's path.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was really a cool way to start it. And I saw the soul view immediately. Because when there's disorder on earth, meaning that they're being held at gunpoint, they've been locked in a bathroom, and this person's, they're having to tell this person where all the valuables are, or they could get killed, and for him to eventually recognize this as, when there's disorder on earth, there's order in heaven, there's a higher order here, and being loyal to that higher order, which is ultimately what he did, and followed that path instead of becoming, a doctor.
And I would even say it was like a divine appointment, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. But you can have a divine appointment and not take the appointment.
Right. Right.
Miss your appointment.
Wing, wing.
Right.
You don't have to, because we also have free will.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, the whole point about the divine order and him really knowing that, the higher order, because very likely his moon is Scorpio, which would make sense given the fact that he was held at gunpoint, but given the fact that he went into a law enforcement. I mean, that's someone that can handle a lot of intensity, anybody that's got any Scorpio energy. But here's what's interesting. He's born with the planet Neptune, the Pisces planet, the planet of compassion and gentleness and kindness, next to the moon. So while there's a stinger and he can handle intensity, obviously, given his career and all of that, there's a kindness and a compassion as well. I have not read the book, but I watched a number of interviews and, looked up his birthday because I was curious, obviously, and we were going to do the show. And isn't this interesting? We're in the Scorpio, the moon's in Sagittarius tonight, which is his sign. He's a Sag, which is the sign of truth. But we're in the Scorpio full moon phase, and he's a Scorpio moon too. So we're talking about him at his own full moon. Not just yours, Shivani. You share it with James Comey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Not bad.
That's cool.
Really. I mean, and what's fascinating is he was fired May 9th of 2017. No, I'm sorry. What was it? May, right? Last year.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. May 9th of 2017, the day before the Scorpio full moon, his own full moon. So the rug was pulled out from under him, if you will. And one more thing, and that I found so much in watching him, this very easy to be with, very conversational, he's got Mars, the planet of what drives him, in Cancer, the sign of the public, the sign of home and family. I mean, he's got 5 kids, he's been married for years. But you feel that, I said earlier, I mean, he's got a whole new career now, and rightly so, to be able to speak this message to the public, because he said he never intended to write a book. He always thought it was about ego. And somebody said, well, what was the moment that you decided to write a book? He said, I was fired, remember? What was the moment? The moment was I got fired and all, so there's a sincerity about him that is, to me, unmistakable. I mean, just when you watch someone and you get a sense of them. So, and events in his life too, like when their baby died, and then his wife, now babies are tested for that very thing that their baby died of, and
she had an infection that affected the baby.
Yeah. And he speaks to how out of tragedy, something good can come, which is, he says he learned from his wife. I tried to find her birthday. I couldn't find it. I'd love to know what Patrice's birthday is.
And again, another soul contract. When you look at it like that, she was here to take that divine path. And you can be loyal to that divine path when it's given to you, when you recognize it, or, we're talking about a higher loyalty, or there's always free will, and you can let that go. You can decide, no, it's too much. I can't take this. And either way is right. It's up to you to decide.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's very genuine to me in his interviews, and the way he says, let the public decide what they want to believe or not. But then he also, because I guess they were friends of Hillary's, he was very cute, and he said, well, I hope when Hillary reads it, she'll at least say, I may be an idiot, but I'm a, what did he say? I'm a something idiot. I'm an honest idiot.
Oh.
Which again is a Sag thing. I mean, it doesn't mean Sagittarius or people with Sag energy have never told a lie. You have a lot of Sag energy, Shivani, but there's this quest for the truth, you know? And so he's really, in a sense, by what's happened, really able to teach that, to teach that more so than he could have perhaps in his position as FBI director, as much as he'd like to be there if he could.
But I think even there that he has a greater purpose, because he has quite a message of leadership.
Totally.
And his higher loyalty that he's talking about in the book is all about honoring your values, being loyal to your values, being loyal to being the best leader you can be. He said, you know, as we all do, he made some mistakes along the way. He owns those mistakes and he's moved on from them, because if you move in and set up camp in something that you've done wrong, you never move forward. So sometimes you have to let that go and still continue to be the best person you can be. So Shivani, you look like you were going to say something about that.
No, but I was just musing between, you know, like loyalty in general. Well, first of all, the higher loyalty, I agree, is totally with you and your values and who you are, how you want to show up. But we also have the loyalty to a political party, right? And or an organization. And then when you talk about leadership, there's a fine line, right? If you're, say, part of a party and the leadership goes another way, then your own values, what do you do then?
And isn't that the question that a lot of people are asking right now? Well, that's really what the gist of the book is all about.
Well, and he said he was actually flattered that one of his kids basically said that he was, you know, another word, I forgot the word that they used, but it basically indicated that he was of neither part, you know, even though he was a Republican, but you know, again, Sag being about the truth. And again, remember, here's Jupiter retrograde, right? So the Sag planet is retrograde in Scorpio. And so his having the opportunity to tell a deeper truth. Pretty interesting just from a timing perspective in terms of the book coming out, in my opinion.
So I would love to ask everybody for comments about this. If you'll go ahead and put your comments in the Q&A box, that would be terrific. And you can also, or in the chat box, excuse me, not Q&A box, chat box, regardless if you're on Facebook or if you are on Zoom with us. And then later on, go ahead and put your questions in there. And again, we'd like to answer them during our next call if it's something that you've asked after the fact. So please put your comments in. Do we have any comments so far?
No, I don't.
So
I'm going to...
quiet. So yeah, maybe share with us if anyone has a challenge with loyalty or around loyalty.
Well,
and it happens also with families, right? Like divided loyalties. Yeah, it can happen in any area of our lives.
Well, and you know, it's interesting because Sagittarius is a sign of truth. Now, Donald Trump's moon is Sagittarius, right? So, but what it reminded me of was the movie Something's Gotta Give with Jack Nicholson, where he talks about his version of the truth. Jack Nicholson at one point, you know, and she goes, "What? It's a version of the truth?" Well, my point being, Donald Trump has his own version of the truth. But there's a quote that I copied down from Comey that I thought was really interesting. He says, "My primary worry about myself is an overconfidence that can lead to closed-mindedness. I have to be careful not to fall in love with my own view of things," which of course is exactly what the president does. Falls in love with his own view of things, right? So I thought that just was his insight, Comey's insight, and his, I don't know, he has like a gentle way of calling a spade a spade. it seems to me, and I'm thinking of the cancer part of him. You know, there's a very kind of, I feel safe when I listen to him. I wonder if anybody else feels that when they read his, you know, I mean, how did you feel in reading it, Cindy? I know you said you enjoyed it, but how did you feel like?
Very safe, and it was a page turner for me. I didn't want the book to end. I truly did not want it to end. And my favorite part of the book was all the stuff before Trump. You know, it was interesting, you know, how everything unfolded and all the emails from Hillary and all that. That was real interesting, and his reason for it. And which was, he was certain she was going to win. And he was afraid that if they didn't leave or didn't come out with these new emails that were discovered, if he didn't say something, then it would plague her entire presidency. Well, isn't it interesting that Trump's has been plagued because of the firing of him and through this whole thing. And that was interesting. But my favorite part was before that, because you get to see his humanity.
Oh, that comes through in the interviews loud and clear. Because again, when this was going on, because, you know, I unplugged for most of that stuff. I knew what was happening, but I wasn't following it on, and, you know, all the different things. So, you know, and on one other thing I wanted to say about the day he was fired, which is kind of interesting in terms of Trump, because Trump's a Gemini and Mercury is the planet associated with Gemini. Well, on May 9th of last year, Mercury was in Aries, and it was right next to the planet of sudden change. You know, in other words, the disruptor planet, the planet that Trump is born with, Uranus, next to the sun. But the planet of communication was right next to that planet. So in terms of something that could have been abruptly communicated or, you know, out of the blue, blah, you know, maybe Trump didn't even know that was going to happen on that day. But because there's so much, he's so impulse driven, you know, it would make sense that he might respond to, okay, you're done, you're gone, you know, whatever. And so, but I think James Comey is such a beautiful example of believing, and that's his Neptune, he takes on a Pisces quality, that all things work together for good. Because that's basically in the interviews that I saw about different times in his life, you know, like the death of the child, and, you know, and the firing. So, I mean, you know, he's a family man, and I'm sure he felt like the FBI was family to him. And I imagine people would feel that from him.
And that's very true. Even when after the firing, and he was returned, McCabe actually let him fly back to Washington in the government plane, and when he said goodbye to everybody, he went and actually talked to everybody and said goodbye.
Yeah.
And that infuriated Trump.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
That shows his heart,
he didn't like it.
Right?
What was that, Shivani?
So it shows his heart and that he really cared.
Yeah. And that comes through on the interviews. I mean, you can say that's not faked, you know. I mean, which again is, he's got a bigger mission, really, a bigger soul mission than he had as head of the FBI, really. I mean, you know, if all things happen because they're supposed to for a higher order, well, again, what he can teach people, and again, Sag is a teacher, you know, Sag is the salesman, is the teacher, you know, so I think, you know, it's very interesting how there's this whole new calling that he's been summoned to.
Yeah,
so we have a question.
Okay,
we have Joanna. How do we make sure we are following or meeting our divine appointments? How do we know we are on track? Thank you, ladies.
Great question.
Yeah, thank you.
Ooh, that's a wonderful question. And
yeah.
Who wants to answer it first?
Woo. Okay, let me read it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my thing would be,
wow,
life is good. I mean, life will be good. You will be happy. You will be in flow. That would be one of the signs. So following on me. Yeah.
How can we make sure that we're following? or meeting our divine appointment. Here's what I do. Whenever I question what's going on, I'll sit down, and this is something in all of this, again, I don't want to make this all about the U.S. This is a U.S. thing, but this is an international book, by the way, and people commenting all over the world, not just here. So, we really want to make this global. But for me, when a lot of this stuff started happening, I had to sit down and write out my values, because there's one part of me that always believes whoever your elected officials are, once they're there, you want them to succeed. You always want someone to succeed. And so you send them love and light and divine guidance. And that doesn't seem to be working with this particular president.
Right.
He's impulsive. So when I try to follow that, it is not in my highest and best good to follow his impulses. And so I had to sit down and write down my own beliefs. What are my values? What are my morals? And sometimes we have to say, by backing this person or by believing in this person, am I compromising myself? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So your higher view can be affected by that, and then it's decision time. Yeah. And we've talked about free will. You get to make choices at that time. Yes, I like this person, but you know what? My loyalty, my higher loyalty, is to my own values, to my own knowing what's right.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And Joanna, when you say, I think I'm reading it a little bit different, but I get what you're saying. So I think because we talked about this incident where he was almost shot, right? That was a divine appointment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right? And I really believe sometimes that is already created before we are even born.
I agree.
And when Joanna says, okay, so how do you know you're on track? Look, it's either way, really. It's like that probably stopped Comey in his track. Like that was an interruption, because he went from, I wanted to be a doctor, to suddenly feeling passionate about this other area. Okay. And I think you will also know whether you're on track. It's how happy is your heart? Mm-hmm. Does whatever you do make your heart sing? Because I also believe ultimately we're not here to be totally unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah.
And I'll take it even a step further. I think on some level, every encounter is a divine appointment. Every single person we encounter, and I think of the Course in Miracles, the holy encounter, we will lose and or find ourselves in everyone. So really, but I love what you said. First thing, Shivani, I think it is sort of a sense of well-being, no matter what the outer circumstances are, but a sense of, when those things happen, those divine appointments, they reinvigorate and replenish trust, and then it's sort of like, oh, wow, and there's that wonder in what's happening. And so the more one approaches life with wonder, I believe, with wonder and delight, the more wonder and delight we experience, essentially. So I use the term divine appointment all the time. I use it all the time, all over the place. So, again, I love this because, this was not rehearsed. That's great. So thank you for showing up for your divine appointment, Joanna.
Yeah. And the thing is, your divine appointment leaves clues. He didn't go out and immediately become, law enforcement. That was not immediate. He started down the path of medical school, and somebody gave him, I can't remember what it was, if it was a book or he went to a lecture or something, and he went, oh my gosh, this is what I'm supposed to do. So it leaves clues. Whatever you're supposed to do leaves clues along the way. Yeah. in my own life, when I moved to Nashville, it was to become a famous country music star. And I was in the middle of recording my first album, and I walked out and said, I'm not supposed to do this. This is not what I'm to do. I don't know what it is, but this wasn't it. And I knew it. And I still had to go back in and finish the album because I was under contract, but I didn't pursue music because if I had been paying attention, I knew every speaker. I knew Zig Ziglar's book, See You at the Top, Frontwards and Backwards. Me becoming a professional speaker was in the cards. Even in college, I couldn't get into any other classes because they were full, the ones that I wanted. So they put me in speech. And it was my best class. And the teacher even said to me, you're a professional speaker. And I said, no, I'm going to be a singer. And so all of these signs were along the way, but it was up to me to take those.
Well, I would say, yes, you're a professional speaker. You're a teacher. In other words, yes, because, and I'm saying it astrologically, because your Saturn, Saturn in the chart is the planet of Dharma. That's the planet of spiritual responsibility. Your Saturn is in Sagittarius. So you are supposed to enlighten, educate, enthuse, encourage. These are all, so I just wanted to add that, it's professional speaker, but it's really teacher. You teach in everything that you do. Mm-hmm. So you're just singing a different song now. It just doesn't look like a CD. That CD.
And Shivani, you have a similar story. You were doing something way different than you are now until you embraced the truth.
I love the question, by the way, and I was just navel gazing how I see that. I think, you can have divine appointments. Well, we all have divine appointments, and some are just bigger than others, right? Mm-hmm. And I also think, I want to say two things. So I think we always get guidance. We all are intuitive. We might see things, feel things, know things. Yeah. So we all have that. We are wired that way. And what happens is quite often we actually don't like the guidance. And then the mind comes in and we're very, very busy to talk ourselves out of this guidance. Yeah. So for example, if the guidance is you really need to quit your corporate job, and then the whole mind goes, but what about money? What about this? And yeah. So that's one thing. And then I think you get hit on the head quite often. Well, most of us, I think, got hit on the head, literally, because that is the disruptor going, go this way. Yeah. So for example, I wanted to be online, and that was sort of always in the background, but it took me to have a serious disagreement with my business partner for this, where we ran a destination spa. So that relationship abruptly ended. So I got stopped in my tracks. And yes, it was like, oh my God, what I'm going to do now. And for 3 months, I was on the floor. Now, oh my God, I'm so grateful for everything that happened. Yeah. So I think, yeah. But in general, I think, listen to your heart, and that is your soul speaking.
And look for the signs. I want to make that clear.
I saw the signs, and I didn't want to see them.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes, we're oblivious.
And then it was like, bang, okay, I got it.
Well, like that joke that the guy is drowning, and so he prays to God to save him. And then a boat comes and he says, no, God's going to save me. And then an airplane comes and to get him out of the water, and he says, no, God is going to save me. And then, a big ship comes by and willing to pick him up, and he says, no, God's going to save me. And then he drowns, and he gets to heaven. He says, God, I trusted you. Why didn't you save me? And he says, I sent you a boat, an airplane, and a ship, and you didn't take it. So it truly is up to us to trust the signs along the way, because we get them.
Yeah.
Just like that day. You know, one of the things when I walked out of that studio and I knew that's not what I wanted to do for a living, I went up to this other studio and Pinkard and Bowden were in there singing, and they do parodies. And I thought, I was sitting there laughing because they were singing, you're the broken handle on my coffee cup, you're my flat tire, and I can't pump you up, you know, and it was so funny. And, you know, oh, I lobster and you flounder, you know, and I'm just laughing so hard with all these songs that they're singing. And I thought, I want to make people laugh. I want to teach them. I want to make them laugh. I want to be an edutainer. Not
yeah, well, then you could, and you, yeah, that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's interesting about Comey, I didn't know that he wanted to be a doctor, but it makes total sense with a Scorpio moon in the sense that he would have been, you know, drawn to the medical field to create safety, which I'm sure is part of the motivation, because he didn't feel safe when he was at gunpoint. So out of his own experience, creating safety, I mean, that comes across in his interviews to me, you know, and as I said, it's kind of a whole new, you know, avenue for me. That's what I love about what we're doing. My Mercury in Scorpio, I have Mercury in Scorpio. I just dive in and do the research, you know, I don't have to know anything beforehand, and it's great. So,
well, what's so interesting for you too, Lorelei, is your history of what you were doing that actually led you to astrology. So I would love for you to share that with everybody.
Yeah, well,
opening to you.
Just to make a long story really short, moved to Atlanta in 78, went to work for a crazy company that made a handheld astrological and biorhythm calculator. They called it a computer. I learned about astrology. All I knew was I was a Libra. And then I went into personnel from there and dragged the tool with me. And so it was my tool, like in recruiting for companies that didn't have a personnel resource, I would ask them the question, you know, what's important to you? What do you do best? And I was stunned that not only didn't the people I was interviewing know why they got up in the morning, but sometimes the people I was interviewing for didn't know why. So being able to use the astrological information to understand people and what makes them tick, and then to help them hire people that would fit, you know, in their organization. I mean, I sort of pieced it together bit by bit. Oh, no wonder that person with Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn, or whatever energy loves being a bookkeeper. Or no wonder that person with Sag energy needs to be out and about selling, teaching, marketing, or not behind a desk, God forbid. You know, although your husband has Virgo energy, remember? So that's why he travels around, and then he can sit behind a desk, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He sits behind a desk all day long.
Right. But seeing people's astrological signature in the jobs that they do. And that still, you know, so jazzes me to see expression of genius, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said yes to it as well. You could have shunned it, right?
I was so enthralled by seeing that, oh my gosh, this person is doing this and they love that and they're wired for that. And I would just get so excited, and then I'd spew out astrological information that no one understood, but they got my enthusiasm. Now I'm a lot better with, let me not use any astrological jargon for a moment so people can understand.
And I think that is the key, Lorelei, the excitement.
Yeah.
Because I remember, you know, being an energy healer when I was taught for the very first time how to use a pendulum, and the pendulum swung. It was like, oh my God.
I remember that moment too.
And I was like, I was obsessed. Yeah. I was fascinated.
Yeah.
And suddenly the world of energy opened up, you know, within a framework. And I think that's the sort of feedback you can, all of us can look forward to. If you're excited, if you're going, oh my God, I want to know more about it, then that's a divine appointment.
Totally. Yeah. Follow the joy, Joanne. Follow the joy.
I love that. Yeah. That is so perfect, because again, you know, back to what I was doing, the singing part was work. And it wasn't joyful for me. Yeah. But when you got me started talking about these motivational speakers and their messages and all of that, oh my gosh, it brought me such joy. It just filled my soul.
Mm-hmm.
And they had so much wisdom to share, and I wanted to live that wisdom. I wanted to be that.
And share that wisdom. You're a Libra moon, so sharing is a big part of your nature.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the consummate interviewer.
Yeah. So that's
the
cool.
The same happened for me with yoga. Yeah, when I discovered yoga, mind you, it's easy for me with all my Scorpio energy because I literally get obsessed, right?
When you said that, I was thinking of your Scorpio energy when you said that.
Like, oh my God. So I can't miss it, right?
Exactly.
Well, we have a comment over here from, let's see here, Johanna. And Johanna says that it's so funny, Lorelei. I interviewed for a teacher's assistant position today, but my degree is in psychology. Thank you, ladies. And then
she also said she thought about energy healing too. Follow the joy. Yes.
Yeah, so that's a Taurus. Now, is Joanna the Taurus? No, that was the other. That was okay. So we don't know Joanna's. I'd love to know your birthday, Joanna, if you want to put it in the chat there.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm going to go over here to Facebook. I don't know if you can see any comments.
I can't see Facebook.
Oh, you can't see the Facebook. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not seeing any comments here. It says that we are live, but I'm not seeing comments over here yet. So make sure you leave your comments and we can answer them for you next week. And, I love this conversation because it truly has allowed me to look at loyalty and look at it from more than just this earth view. Because from an earth view, and you brought this up earlier, Shivani, what was your definition that you found?
The loyalty?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't write it down.
Okay. But you said
basically the commitment to a group or a cause.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a higher loyalty to me is a commitment to your truth.
Yeah.
And that's different than being committed to somebody. Like I'm loyal in my relationship with my husband and loyal to my business and loyal to you ladies and loyal to our community. But there's a higher loyalty for me that I have to honor my own truth. And that's not always easy.
No.
And when you just said that, Comey just flashed into my head because really his soul orchestrated that. As much as it was devastating for him on many levels, and and Mars and Cancer, certainly not that money would be an issue, but just that the removal of family, of the belonging to that to the FBI, whatever. But actually, the higher loyalty is to what he's doing now. That's what's so interesting. I mean, because from a soul perspective, his soul was sort of way ahead of, and he obviously knows that. I so picked that up from just listening to him, that he really does respond, even though he's got 2 planets in Capricorn, so he can be very earnest and very serious. He has that Piscean or Neptunian where he would listen to that inner voice. So I think that's going to be a great part of the message that he's going to be delivering to the public as well.
Well, I went to his Facebook page and or went looking for his Facebook page. I'm not sure which is the official one. I got to look at it because a lot of people they create Facebook pages for other people, so you got to be real cautious about stuff like that. But I want to make sure it's the right one, and I'm going to ask him if he will start writing mysteries or about the FBI, because I think he's that good. I would certainly buy his books. He could create all kinds of cool stories, loosely based on truths,
and could write to what the public will respond to. They're already responding to this for sure. But again, just that way of that's very interesting. Mysteries that would fit the Scorpio moon for sure.
Yeah.
So Joanna came back and said her birthday is October 20th.
78. So very likely has Scorpio energy, studied psychology. I mean, I'm just going to my other page. put her in. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that for sure, but I would imagine that very likely that would make sense. September 20th of 1978. Oh, the year I moved to Atlanta. 1978.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just see real quick here. Yes, Mercury in Scorpio, planet of communication in Scorpio. So that would be the need to go deeper. So I'm not surprised that you would have studied psychology. Yeah, Libra Sun with the planet of communication. Well, actually, like me, I'm a Libra with Mercury in Scorpio too, and studied psychology. So I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, that need to go deeper. So thank you for sharing that, Joanne. I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's, you know, I always like to go back to free will, because I see people, they know their strengths and things come to them very easily. Like being spiritual is not something I have to ever try it. It's just who I am, who I was as a child. And, you know, my spirituality is everything to me. Mm-hmm. But I could make a different choice. I don't have to follow that energy of the Pisces. Mm-hmm. You know, the Pisces in me. I can make a different choice. I remember in the military one time, I was doing a program for them, and this one guy said, well, I don't want to do what comes easy to me. I want to do this. I want to do something I'm no good at and get, you know, really good at that. Well, it's okay to embrace those things, but to completely leave behind your nature is turning back on, you know, going back to what she was saying. What's your divine purpose? Well, that might be your divine purpose. That's why that gift was given you at birth, and turning your back on that might be doing yourself a disservice. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think, the interesting thing that I notice with my clients, that what in general, what you think is easy, and it's not special at all, because this is just who you are. This is actually your gift.
Right.
And we don't recognize that because it's just so easy, and, you know, what's special about that? But that is actually our gift.
I can't believe you said that, because here's the sun in Taurus, which is all about value. And I learned that when I was business coached, and it blew me away. It was that the things that come the easiest to us are what we value the least. That spun my head around. It spun my head around, you know, in terms of my own self, but other people. And I went, oh my God, that's so true. I'm so glad you said that, because that reminded me of that again, that's so, what is so natural to us, especially people in business, and then charging for that, you know, and feeling the value around that. So that's so true.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was saying with this, you know, this sergeant. You know, he wanted people to focus on something they weren't good at, instead of what came easy.
So military.
Yeah. and I'm like, but if you focus on what you're good at, you'll get even that much better, because it comes so easily to you, and you get better and better and better. And then you can start bringing in all these other gifts and learn and improve. But focus on your strength, that is your foundation. It's the foundation of who you came here to be. That's the way I always look at it.
Well, I mean, Joseph Campbell's "Follow Your Bliss," you know, the hero's journey. He was an Aries. There's the hero. I mean, that's the hero sign. I mean, so again, someone living their DNA astrologically.
And think of how many people, if they didn't live their truth, live their gifts, their purpose, all the things that we'd miss out on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also remember, it's a journey. It's one step at a time, and really, you never ever get it done. Yeah,
that's true. We'll keep on with that journey to the end of days of our days. Well, this has been so fun. What a great conversation. I love doing this. You know, I love taking what's in the news and really focusing on that topic from a different perspective. And I love that we've had so many great comments here today. And again, you know, when you come back and watch this later, if you do, please leave your comments, like this video, leave us hearts and stars and whatever else you can do on there, and subscribe to our channel. We are going to be switching pretty soon over to YouTube. We're having some, there's some changes going on at Facebook, and so I think we may have no choice but to switch over to YouTube, but we really want to grow that channel anyway. So, so I think that might be something we're going to be talking about that, and we'll let everybody know where you'll be able to see us live, and we will be broadcasting live there. So, So I thank all of you for being here, and I just want to say, you know, the Soul View is all about, you know, it's not just a talk show, it's a movement. Our goal is to really help people understand their higher purpose, whatever that is, and to help really raise the vibration of this beautiful planet of ours. Any last thoughts you ladies want to?
I was actually just thinking that I'll bet James Comey would use the term divine appointment.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see him saying that. I didn't hear him say that, but yes. Yeah. So that's what I was actually thinking just now.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just thinking that we, by being here on the planet, and for our viewers watching us, that is already a divine appointment that we are on the planet at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably 200 years later, somebody will look back and go, my God, all this stuff happened and this brought in this new era, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're divinely appointed being alive today. There's no accident.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
Yeah. And we are the ones who bring, for me, who bring heaven on earth.
Yes.
Through. Yeah, that's where we're moving to.
Well, I want to thank everyone for being here today. Much love to you. Go out and make it a great rest of the day, the night. Have a good night's sleep, depending on where you are. Much love, and namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.